From Central Asia to the North Pole, how China is taking over the world. The debts of developing countries to China over the past 20 years have reached $385 billion. More than 2,000 years ago, Rome laid 89,000 kilometers of roads and water pipes in Europe. About 18 centuries later, the British Empire would do something similar, with the most powerful navy in the world, building highways, railways, and seaports. Thus, the great powers, with the help of infrastructure, controlled the conquered territories, like the bones and veins of the human body. Today, China is following this path. About how the birthplace of silk captures the whole world without the use of weapons. There are two ways to conquer states. The first is by the sword. The second is by duty. John Quincy Adams, 6th President of the United States. This doctrine has been well adopted in China and is applied diligently. The American Research Laboratory data reports that the volume of debts of developing countries to the Celestial Empire over the past 20 years has reached $385 billion. At the same time, in September 2013, Xi Jinping visited Astana, where for the first time he presented the One Belt, One Road project, a new version of the Silk Road, but only on a larger scale. During the life of this project, China has already invested more than $843 billion in the construction of roads, bridges, ports, and hospitals in Africa and Central Asia, and almost 70% of this amount has been issued in the form of loans. One Belt, One Road. In general, Chinese loans have three advantages over the same European ones, thanks to which countries turn to them for a loan. They are cheap as a rule. The rate is 1 to per annum. A long term can be taken for decades. Most importantly, China does not care about the political component of the country. To get a loan, it is not necessary to support human rights or meet the democratic standards that Europeans or Americans demand. It is worth noting that Central Asia has long been an important region for China, through which the Silk Road once passed. Therefore, relations with the Central Asian countries play an important role for China. Sri Lanka. This island state can be singled out separately. In 2005, Sri Lanka was led by Ranil Wickremesinghe, who took money from China for several major projects. As a result, the amount of the loan amounted to about $8 billion. These funds were used to build highways, railways, and power lines in the country. But the most important project is the port of Hambantota, located in the south of Sri Lanka, where Wickremesinghe himself comes from. The construction of the bridge, which lasted 2 years, did not come easily to the authorities, because of which the debt only increased and the country was unable to pay it off. As a result, China took a water harbor on lease for 99 years, with the help of which it controls an important strategic area in the Indian Ocean. Oceania, an equally important region in China's ambitions, are the countries of Oceania. China has allocated $2.5 billion for investment for the countries of Oceania. Fiji, a $158 million hydroelectric power plant, sports complexes and stadiums. Samoa, $100 million hospital, a $40 million Faliolo airport building and runway, and a $140 million Vosos Pier. Tonga, government building in St. George's Palace for $12 million. Vanuatu, $60 million for the construction of the Parliament building and the construction of a hostel for the university in Port Vila. There is an explanation for such unheard of generosity of China towards the countries of Oceania. In 2021, riots broke out in the Solomon Islands. The island authorities explained this by saying that the protests were organized by Western powers, because the islands had previously severed relations with Taiwan to please China. Also, between the two countries was undersecretary cooperation is written, as a result of which the Solomon Islands may request the assistance of the police, military personnel, and other law enforcement agencies from China. In this regard, the United States expressed concern, fearing that this would give Africa, but China's largest activity is in Africa. In 1980, China's trade with Africa was estimated at $1 billion, in 1999 as $6.5 billion, in 2000 more than $10 billion. Further, the rates only increased, and in 2006 they already reached $55 billion, and today the figures have grown to $200 billion and more. The Celestial Empire also promised to provide $60 billion in loans to African countries. In 20 years, China has become the main trading partner for half of African countries, according to experts from the War on the Rocks portal. Since 1966, China has been involved in the construction or renovation of 166 government facilities, including 20 for residences of heads of state, At the same time, 45 projects were free. For example, Beijing built a presidential palace in Burundi for $22 million, a six-story parliament building in Zimbabwe for $100 million, and two new buildings for the local capital in Liberia for $66 million. Half of all 4G networks and most of the 2G and 3G networks are built by the Chinese telecommunications company Huawei. On January 1, 2018, the Addis Ababa Ethiopia-Djibouti Railway was officially put into operation with a length of 760 kilometers and a cost of more than $3 billion. The endpoint of the road was the port of Durali in Djibouti, which was also built with Beijing's money. The day before, on December 31, 2017, a railway was opened between Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, and the port in the south of the country, Mombasa. In 2014, the Benguela-Angola Railway was reconstructed, connecting the port of Lobito with the Congo border, budget of $1.86 billion. There are similar projects in Nigeria, Sudan, Uganda, Mali, and others. In Angola, China built the whole city of Calamba for 500,000 inhabitants. The most interesting thing is that, according to the conditions, all the work is carried out by Chinese contractors. It turns out that China lends money. African countries pay this money to the Chinese, and then also repay the debt. In addition to the financial component, China also has political advantages. Thus, 22 member countries of the UN Human Rights Council called on China to stop the massive repression against the Uyghurs. Beijing protested. African countries provided half of the signatures in support of China. The fact is that, according to the UN rules, each country, regardless of size, population, economic power, and other indicators, has one equal vote. Note that there are 54 countries in Africa, North and South Poles. Despite the fact that China does not belong to the countries of the Arctic Circle, the Celestial Empire considers itself a circumpolar country and has ambitions in this regard. China has 4 research stations in Antarctica. Such objects allow countries to claim ownership of the territories of the continent, all in order to extract resources there when the Treaty on the Inviolability of Local Nature expires in 2048. Chinese ambitions also extend to South America, but this region is traditionally the sphere of influence of another world giant of the United States. For this reason, while the Celestial Empire is launching small projects in this region compared to other countries, but it is obvious that China's capture of the rest of the world is only a matter of time. However, it is worth remembering, no matter how strong the empire is over time, certain events can interrupt any aspirations. Moreover, human history has proven this many times.